My daughter swore her stepdad was the real father she truly deserved, so when his mask finally slipped, she faced a reckoning she never saw coming. So last year, Maria, my ex-wife, and I finalized our divorce. We had been together for 16 years? Yeah, 16. Anyway, things hadn't been great for a while, but I always thought we could work through it. I mean, every couple has their problems, right? Turns out I was wrong, real wrong. Maria was having what she called an emotional affair with this guy from work, Brian. And honestly, I'm not even sure what the hell that means. Like, it wasn't physical at first anyway, but she was out there telling this dude things she should have been talking to me about. All the intimate stuff, her feelings, frustrations, hopes, whatever. It's like she built a relationship with him while we were still married. I can't say I was shocked when she finally came clean about it, but it felt like I had been punched in the gut when she told me she wanted to be with him. Now anyway, we ended up splitting up, and the divorce went through pretty fast. I just wanted it to be over with. The only thing that kept me going was my daughter, Lily. She's 14 now, but back then I still felt like we had a bond, you know? We were always close, or at least I thought we were. She was my little girl, my buddy. But after the divorce, everything between us changed. At first, I tried to keep things normal between us. I didn't say a bad word about her mom. I didn't want to be that guy. I figured Lily didn't need to hear about all the drama and pain Maria had caused me. So I tried to be the good dad, kept giving her gifts, took her out to do fun stuff, and didn't make her choose sides. But nothing I did seemed to matter. Lily was cold toward me, real cold. It was like she wasn't even my kid anymore. Every time I saw her, it felt like she had built this wall between us. And let me tell you, there's nothing worse than realizing your own child doesn't want to be around you. I kept brushing it off at first, told myself, hey, she's just a teenager, she's going through her own stuff, give her some time. But the more time passed, the worse it got. I remember one time I got her this necklace for her birthday, something she'd been wanting for a while. She took it, barely said thanks, and that was it. No smile, no excitement, just nothing. That hurt, but I kept telling myself she'd come around eventually. Then one day, it happened. The day that still messes with my head. We were sitting in the car. I think I had just picked her up from her mom's house. We weren't talking much, like usual, and out of nowhere she says, you know, Brian's the dad I deserve, not you. I didn't even know how to react. I was stunned. Like, what the hell do you say to that? I remember my throat tightening up like I couldn't breathe for a second. I just kind of stared at her, waiting for her to say she was kidding or something, but she didn't. She just sat there looking out the window like it was no big deal, like she hadn't just shattered my entire world in one sentence. I pulled the car over to the side of the road because I didn't trust myself to keep driving after hearing that. I couldn't process it. My own daughter telling me that this guy, this Brian dude who had been in her life for a few months, was a better father to her than me, the guy who raised her for 14 years. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't come. I just sat there in silence, trying to wrap my head around what had just happened. And the worst part, she didn't even seem to care. She just sat there, scrolling on her phone like it was nothing, like I didn't matter anymore. I dropped her off at her mom's place without another word. I didn't even get out of the car. I just waited for her to leave, watched her walk away, and then I lost it. I got home that night, and it all hit me at once. Everything, the divorce, the betrayal, my daughter siding with this new guy over me. It was like the whole world was collapsing around me, and I had no way to stop it. I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. I just needed time to be alone and think. Well, more like not think, because every time I tried to figure out how it had come to this, I couldn't make sense of it. Lily's words kept playing in my head over and over. Brian's the dad I deserve. It was like someone had taken a knife and twisted it in my chest. I kept asking myself what I had done wrong. Where did I mess up? How could the daughter I loved so much think so little of me? After a couple of days, I realized I had to make a choice for my own sanity. I couldn't keep going like this, trying to force a relationship with someone who didn't want it. As much as it hurt, I decided I needed to pull back. Emotionally, financially, all of it. I wasn't going to keep bending over backward for someone who clearly didn't care about me. That night, I sat down with all my financial documents and made the first big decision. I removed Lily as the primary beneficiary from all my accounts. That meant my life insurance, my 401k, everything. I know it sounds harsh, but at that moment I realized I had to protect myself. If she didn't want me in her life, I wasn't going to keep putting her first. Instead, I made my sister, Rebecca, the beneficiary. Rebecca was the only one who really understood what I was going through. She'd been there for me through the divorce, listened to all my rants about Maria and Brian, and never judged me for any of it. She had been through her own tough breakup a few years back, so she got it. Once I made that change, I felt a little better, like I was finally taking control of my life again. I didn't owe Lily anything beyond what I was legally required to give her, and that's how I was going to handle things from now on. Just do the bare minimum until she turned 18, and then, well, I don't know what happens after that, but at least I'd be free from all this pain. After that conversation with Lily, things in my life started to change real fast. It wasn't like I wanted them to, but I knew that if I kept holding on, I'd lose myself. I mean, when your own kid basically says, "I don't need you anymore," what are you supposed to do? I wasn't going to beg her to let me be her dad. I tried that for months, and it got me nowhere. So I made the decision to pull back emotionally and financially. It was time to stop pretending everything would magically go back to how it was. I guess the first person I told about all this was my sister, Rebecca. She's my rock, man. She's been through her own crap, so she always knows what to say. I remember going over to her place one afternoon and just laying it all out for her. I told her about what Lily said, how she's been cold ever since the divorce, and how I'd had enough of it. Rebecca wasn't surprised. She had warned me months ago that Lily was getting too close to Brian and Maria. She'd seen it happen before, kids picking sides when their parents split, even when it didn't make sense. But hearing her say, "I told you so," didn't make me feel any better. In fact, it kind of made me feel worse, like I should have seen it coming and done something different. "Look," Rebecca said. "You've done everything you could. You've been a great dad, but if she doesn't want to see that, that's on her. You can't keep chasing her around trying to fix it. You got to take care of yourself now." And that's when it really clicked for me. I realized I couldn't keep pouring myself into a relationship that wasn't there anymore. So I went home that night and started making some big changes. It wasn't easy, though. The first thing I did was sit down and go through my financials. I took Lily off as the beneficiary for everything. Life insurance, savings, even the small emergency fund I had tucked away. I wasn't going to just hand over my hard-earned money to someone who saw me as replaceable. Instead, I added Rebecca as my primary beneficiary. She was the only one who had been there for me through everything, so it just made sense. I also started pulling money out of the college fund I had saved for Lily. This one was tough. I'd been saving for her education since she was born. Every paycheck I'd set a little aside, thinking one day it would help her get into whatever college she wanted. But now I couldn't see a future where she even cared about going to school, let alone having me pay for it. So yeah, I pulled the money out. Not all of it at once, but enough to take a couple of trips and do something for myself for a change. It wasn't all selfish, though. I used some of the money on Rebecca, too. She deserves it. We went on a 2-week trip to Europe, just me and her. We saw Paris, Rome, and Barcelona. It was exactly what I needed to clear my head. I know it probably sounds harsh, spending the money I had saved for Lily, but honestly, it felt like I was reclaiming something that had been taken from me. When I got back from that trip, I felt different. Not exactly healed or anything, but more at peace with my decision. I wasn't sitting around waiting for Lily to change her mind about me. I was moving on. And to be honest, part of me thought maybe this distance would make her realize how much she was hurting me. Maybe, just maybe, she'd come around and apologize or at least try to understand where I was coming from. But that never happened. Instead, I started hearing things from other people. My neighbor, for example, mentioned seeing Lily with Brian at some school event. He said she looked happier than he'd ever seen her. That stung a bit, but I wasn't surprised. Brian was doing all the things I couldn't, I guess. He was stepping into the dad role whether I liked it or not. And it wasn't just at school. I started hearing about Brian taking her shopping, taking her to sports games, doing all the things I used to do with her. The more I heard, the more it confirmed that I'd made the right choice to step back. But even though I was moving on, I wasn't about to cut Lily off completely. I mean, I'm not heartless. I still paid child support, did all the legal stuff, and made sure she had what she needed. But the extra stuff, the emotional support, the gifts, the surprises, nah, I was done with all that. I was done bending over backward to make her happy when she clearly didn't care about me. The strangest part was Lily didn't even ask about the changes at first. I thought she'd notice right away that I wasn't sending her gifts anymore or that I wasn't texting her to check in as much, but weeks went by, and I didn't hear a word. I guess she was too busy with Brian and her mom to notice or care. It was like I had become a ghost in her life and she didn't even realize it. But then everything blew up. It was a Saturday evening when it happened. I was just sitting at home catching up on some work when my phone buzzed. It was Lily. She wanted to come over and talk. I hadn't heard from her in weeks, so I figured maybe this was it. Maybe she was ready to have a real conversation. Maybe things could get better. But when she walked through the door, I could tell right away something was wrong. She had this look on her face, like she was angry but trying to hold it in. I didn't even get a chance to ask her what was going on before she dropped a bomb on me. "I know what you did," she said, her voice shaking with anger. I was confused. "What are you talking about?" I asked. "I know you took me off your accounts," she spat out, "and I know you've been spending the college fund. How could you do that to me? That money was for my future." I felt my stomach drop. I hadn't expected her to find out like this, especially not so soon. But there she was, standing in front of me, hurt and angry, demanding answers. I could have lied, made up some excuse, but what would that have accomplished? She deserved the truth, even if it hurt. "Yeah, I made some changes," I admitted, "but you need to understand, Lily. You told me Brian was the father you deserved. You made it clear you didn't want me in your life anymore." Her face turned red with frustration. I never said I didn't want you. I was angry, but you're still my dad. In my head, you didn't act like it, Lily. You pushed me away, and I had to protect myself. I'm still here, doing what I'm supposed to do, but I can't keep pretending like everything's fine when it's not. She didn't like that answer. She stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her, and just like that, any hope I had of fixing things seemed to vanish. I sat there in the silence, wondering if I had made the right decision, but knowing deep down that I didn't really have a choice. So after that last argument with Lily, things were pretty tense. I didn't hear from her for a while, and I wasn't exactly rushing to reach out either. Honestly, I was tired. Tired of the back and forth, tired of trying to fix things that just couldn't be fixed, but that didn't mean I was prepared for what happened next. A few months went by, and I'm thinking maybe this distance is what we both need. Maybe some time apart will help us figure things out. I'm focusing on work, seeing my sister Rebecca more, trying to get my life back together. I wasn't expecting to hear anything from Lily. Then one evening, out of nowhere, she shows up at my door. I should have known something was up just from the way she was standing there, arms crossed with that look on her face like she was ready for a fight. I barely got the door open before she was already inside, pacing back and forth in my living room like she owned the place. "All right, what's going on?" I asked, shutting the door behind her. She spun around and glared at me. "You know exactly what's going on. Why did you do it?" Now I'm still trying to figure out what she's talking about, but it didn't take long for her to spill it. "You took me off everything," she said, her voice shaking with anger. "The accounts, the college fund, everything." "What the hell, Dad?" I won't lie. That stung. Even though I knew she had distanced herself from me, hearing her call me Dad in that moment hit different. Like after all this time of pushing me away, now she wants to pull the dad card. But I kept my cool. I knew this conversation was coming eventually. "Yeah, I made some changes," I said calmly. "You said Brian was the dad you deserved. You made it clear you didn't need me in your life anymore." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop, I was mad. I didn't mean that, but this is a whole other level. You're taking away my future." That's when it clicked. It wasn't about the relationship between us. It wasn't about her missing me or feeling like I wasn't there for her. No, this was about the money, the college fund, the accounts, everything I had been saving for her future. She was pissed because she found out that I'd been using it for myself and for Rebecca. "Lily, I didn't just wake up one day and decide to cut you off," I told her. "You made your choice. You chose your mom. You chose Brian. I had to protect myself. You're supposed to be my dad," she shouted, her voice cracking a little. "You're supposed to take care of me no matter what." That's when I lost it a bit. I didn't yell, but I definitely wasn't as calm as before. "Take care of you?" "I tried, Lily. I tried for months after the divorce to keep us close. I never badmouthed your mom. I never said a single bad thing about Brian, even though he was the reason your mom and I split up. I was there, trying to be the dad you say I'm supposed to be, and what did I get for it? Nothing. You pushed me away at every turn. You acted like I didn't exist. So yeah, I made changes. I had to look out for myself because no one else was." She looked shocked, like she wasn't expecting me to push back. I guess she thought I'd just roll over and apologize, but that wasn't happening this time. I was done with that. "I didn't push you away," she yelled back, but there was less fire in her voice now. I was just trying to figure things out." "Figure things out?" I shook my head. "You didn't even give me a chance, Lily. You chose Brian the second you found out about him. You didn't just side with your mom, you erased me from your life." We both stood there, the silence filling the room. I could tell she was trying to process what I was saying, but I wasn't sure if she was really getting it. I mean, how do you explain to your own kid that they hurt you so much that you had to cut them off just to keep your sanity? Eventually, she sat down on the couch, looking more defeated than angry now. "So that's it? You're just done with me?" I sighed and sat down across from her. "I'm not done with you, Lily. You're my daughter, and I'll always love you. But I can't keep putting myself in a position where I'm constantly being hurt. I'm still here, doing what I have to do, but I'm not going to pretend like everything's fine when it's not." She stared at the floor, not saying anything for a while. Then she finally looked up at me. "What if I want things to go back to the way they were?" That question hit hard. I wanted to say yes, that I'd do anything to fix things, but the truth is too much had changed. There was no going back to how things were before the divorce, before Brian, before all of this. "Lily," I said carefully, "we can work on rebuilding things, but it's going to take time and it's going to take effort from both of us. I'm not just going to jump back in and pretend like none of this happened." She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't really satisfied with that answer. I don't think either of us was, but it was the best I could offer. I couldn't go back to being the dad who just gave and gave without getting anything in return. After a few minutes, she stood up to leave. "I need to think about all this," she said quietly, not making eye contact. "Take all the time you need," I replied, trying to stay calm even though part of me was screaming inside. She walked to the door, paused for a second like she was going to say something else, but then just left without another word. And that was it. Another confrontation, another unresolved conversation. But this time, it felt different. There was no door slam, no angry outburst, just silence. I sat there for a long time after she left, thinking about everything. I wanted to believe that maybe this was the start of something better between us, but honestly, I didn't know. I'd been let down so many times that it was hard to have hope anymore. All I knew was that I had to stick to my decision. I couldn't go back to how things were before. If she wanted a relationship, she'd have to meet me halfway. And if not, well, I'd done all I could do. The rest was up to her. So after Lily left my house that night, I thought maybe things were finally starting to calm down. We had the confrontation, said what we needed to say, and I figured she'd take her time to think things through. I didn't expect some miracle where she'd call me the next day, but I thought the worst was behind us. But of course, I was wrong, because a few days later I got a call from someone I really wasn't looking forward to hearing from, Maria. Now, to be fair, we've kept things pretty civil since the divorce, mostly because we had to for Lily's sake. We weren't friends or anything, but we weren't screaming at each other either. But this call? Yeah, this one wasn't civil at all. It was a Thursday night, and I had just finished cleaning up the kitchen when my phone started ringing. I saw her name on the screen and immediately had that sinking feeling in my gut like, why would Maria be calling me now? She never calls unless it's about something serious, and I was not in the mood for more drama. But I picked up, and right away she starts in with the attitude, why are you doing this to our daughter? That's how she opened the conversation. No hello, no how are you, just straight into accusations. I sighed and leaned against the counter. What are you talking about, Maria? She huffed, like I was supposed to know exactly what she meant. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Lily came home upset because you took her off your accounts. She's been crying for days, saying you don't care about her anymore. Now at this point, I'm already annoyed. Not because Lily's upset, I mean I get why she's hurt, but because Maria's acting like I'm some kind of villain here. Like I just woke up one day and decided to hurt my daughter for fun. Maria, I said, trying to keep my voice calm, I made those changes because Lily made it clear she didn't want me in her life. She's been pushing me away for months. What was I supposed to do? Just keep pretending like everything's fine? She cut me off before I could even finish. You're supposed to be her father. You don't just get to cut her off like that. She's your child. And there it was, the guilt trip. I knew it was coming, but it still hit hard. Because yeah, Lily is my child, and yeah, I still love her. But that doesn't change the fact that she's been treating me like garbage for the better part of a year. I am her father, I replied, trying not to raise my voice. But being her father doesn't mean I have to keep giving and giving while she treats me like I don't exist. I've done my part, Maria. I've tried to keep a relationship with her and she shut me out. This isn't about the money. This is about me protecting myself. There was a long pause on her end. I could hear her breathing, probably trying to figure out what to say next. But instead of calming down, she came back even angrier. Protect yourself, she snapped. What are you talking about? She's 14 for God's sake. She's confused and you're punishing her for it. You're supposed to be the adult here, not the one making her feel worse. Now, I don't know what it is about people saying you're supposed to be the adult, but it always sets me off. It's like they're saying I'm not allowed to have feelings because I'm the dad. Like I'm just supposed to take whatever crap gets thrown at me because that's what adults do. I have been the adult, Maria, I shot back. I've been trying to be there for Lily since the divorce, and what has she done? She told me Brian was the dad she deserved. She told me she didn't need me anymore. How am I supposed to keep pretending that doesn't hurt? She didn't answer that. Instead, she went for a different angle. This is all because of Brian, isn't it? You're jealous that she's close to him, and now you're punishing her for it. That one made me laugh, not because it was funny, but because it was so predictable. Of course she thought this was about Brian. In her mind, everything had to come back to him. I was just the bitter ex-husband, jealous that the guy she cheated on me with was now playing dad to my daughter. This has nothing to do with Brian, I said firmly. This is about me and Lily. It's about how she's treated me ever since you brought him into her life. I'm not punishing her. I'm doing what I need to do for my own sanity. She sighed, and I could tell she was getting frustrated. Lily's hurting right now. She's a kid, and she doesn't know how to handle all of this, and you're just making things worse. She thinks you don't love her anymore. That one stung, not because I thought it was true, but because it showed how much damage had been done. I do love Lily. I always have. But how do you show love to someone who doesn't want it? How do you keep reaching out when every time you try, they slap your hand away? That's not true, I said quietly. I've never stopped loving her, but I can't keep letting her hurt me either. I have to draw a line somewhere. Maria was silent for a minute, and I thought maybe, just maybe, she was starting to understand. But then she said the thing I was dreading. If you don't fix this, you're going to lose her forever. I could feel my chest tighten because that was my biggest fear, even if I didn't want to admit it, losing Lily for good. But I also knew that I couldn't just roll over and do whatever it took to make her happy. That's not how relationships work. I don't want to lose her, I said, my voice low, but she has to meet me halfway. I can't be the only one trying here. Maria sighed again, but this time it sounded less angry and more tired. I just don't want to see her hurt anymore. She's been through enough. And there it was, the part of me that understood. I didn't want to see Lily hurt either, but at the same time, I couldn't ignore how much she had hurt me. It wasn't fair for Maria to act like Lily was the only one struggling here. I get it, I said, but you've got to understand my side of this too. I'm doing what I think is best for both of us. I'm still here for her, but I can't keep pretending like nothing's wrong. There was a long pause before Maria finally spoke again. All right. I'll talk to her, but you need to be ready to fix this when she's ready to talk. I wasn't sure what fixing this would even look like, but I agreed. I'm ready whenever she is. And with that, the call ended. I stood there for a while just staring at my phone, wondering if I had made the right choice. I didn't know if things would ever be fixed between Lily and me, but at least now there was a glimmer of hope that maybe we could start over someday. After that call with Maria, I thought maybe things would start shifting, like there'd be some kind of progress or something, even if it was small. I had told her everything, my side of things, why I did what I did, why I needed to protect myself. And while she wasn't thrilled, at least she said she'd talk to Lily. So I waited, and waited. But nothing happened. Days went by, and I heard nothing from either of them. It was frustrating. On the one hand, I knew I had made my choice. I had set boundaries, and those boundaries were important to me. But on the other hand, there was still this huge part of me that was hoping Lily would come around. Maybe she'd show up one day and say she understood, or at least that she wanted to talk. But that day never came. Instead, I got another surprise. One afternoon, I got home from work and there was an envelope on my doorstep. No note, no return address, just an envelope with my name on it. I brought it inside, figuring it was some kind of official paperwork or bill. But when I opened it, my heart sank. Inside was a letter from Lily. I don't know why, but my hands were shaking when I opened it. I guess part of me was scared of what she might say. Maybe it was going to be a hate-filled letter about how I'd ruined her life, or maybe it was something else entirely. Either way, I wasn't prepared for what I read. The letter wasn't long. In fact, it was pretty short and to the point. But it was enough to stop me in my tracks. Dad, it started. I've thought a lot about what you said. I don't agree with everything, but I get that you're hurt. I'm hurt too. I don't know how we got here, but I don't think we can fix it. I've decided to move in with Brian and Mom full-time. I won't need you anymore, and I'm changing my last name to Brian's. This is what's best for me. That was it. The letter ended just like that. Simple, cold, and straight to the point. She didn't want me anymore. She didn't need me anymore. And she was making it official by taking Brian's last name. I sat there at the kitchen table for what felt like forever, just staring at the letter. My mind was racing, but my body felt like it was frozen. She was gone, just like that. I mean, I knew things were bad between us, but I didn't think it would come to this. I didn't think she'd actually go as far as to take his name, to literally erase me from her life. The worst part? I didn't know how to respond. I'd spent so long fighting for her, trying to keep her in my life, but now she was making it clear she didn't want that. She had made her choice. Brian was the dad she deserved, not me. I didn't call her. I didn't call Maria. I didn't call anyone. I just sat there, staring at the letter, feeling like the ground had been pulled out from under me. What do you even do when your own kid tells you they're done with you for the next few days? I felt like I was in a fog. I went to work, did what I had to do, but it felt like I was on autopilot. Every time I thought about the letter, I got this tight feeling in my chest. I couldn't shake the idea that I had somehow failed. Maybe if I had done things differently, if I had fought harder for our relationship, if I had given more, maybe things wouldn't have ended up like this. But then Rebecca came over one evening. She noticed something was off right away, and of course I ended up telling her everything. I showed her the letter, expecting her to say something like it's going to be okay or you'll work things out eventually, but she didn't. Instead, she just looked at me and said something I wasn't expecting. You didn't fail, you know. I looked at her, confused. What are you talking about? Of course I failed. My own daughter doesn't want me in her life anymore. Rebecca shook her head. No, you didn't fail. You did everything you could. You gave her space, you set boundaries, and you tried to have a relationship with her, but at the end of the day she made her own choice. This isn't all on you. I wanted to believe her, I really did, but it's hard to shake the feeling that you've somehow screwed up when your kid chooses someone else over you. Still, what Rebecca said made sense. I had done what I could, and Lily had made her decision. It wasn't my job to fix everything. Especially when she wasn't willing to meet me halfway over the next few weeks, I started to accept that this was the reality now. Lily was gone, and I had to move forward. I wasn't going to chase her down or beg her to come back. I'd already done that, and it didn't work. She had made her choice, and I had to live with it, no matter how much it hurt. But then, just when I thought things had finally settled down, I got another call. This time it wasn't Maria, it was Lily. And this time it wasn't a confrontation or a fight. It was worse. Dad, she said, her voice softer than I'd heard it in months. I need help. Those words hit me like a ton of bricks. After everything, after the letter, after the decision to take Brian's name, after all of it, she was calling me, asking for help. I didn't know what to say at first. Part of me wanted to shut her out just like she had done to me. Part of me wanted to tell her she had made her choice and now she had to live with it. But the other part of me, the part that was still her dad no matter what, knew I couldn't do that. "What's going on, Lily?" I asked, my voice a little shaky. There was a long pause before she finally spoke. "It's Brian. He's not who I thought he was. I don't know what to do." And just like that, everything changed again. The guy she had chosen over me, the guy who was supposed to be the father she deserved, suddenly he wasn't the hero anymore. Suddenly she needed me again. I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if we can ever go back to how things were, but for the first time in months, I felt like there was a tiny sliver of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. Maybe we could finally start to fix things. But this time, I wasn't going to be the one doing all the fixing. If Lily wanted me back in her life, she was going to have to put in the effort too. So after that call from Lily, my head was all over the place. I mean, it was the first time in what felt like forever that she actually reached out to me, needed me. But it wasn't exactly what I expected. She wasn't calling to fix things between us. She was calling because she needed help with Brian. And honestly, I wasn't sure how to feel about that. Part of me was relieved she reached out at all, but another part of me was still hurt. Was she only coming to me because things had gone wrong with Brian? I didn't get much detail from her on the phone. She just said Brian wasn't who she thought he was. I didn't push for answers right then. Instead, I told her we could talk in person. She agreed to come over the next day, and that gave me a night to sit and stew over what this was really about. The next morning, I was pacing around my house like a crazy person, waiting for her to show up. My mind kept going in circles, thinking about everything that had happened between us. I wasn't sure if this was the beginning of us fixing things or just another mess I'd have to deal with. Either way, I knew I had to be ready for whatever she was about to drop on me. When she finally got to the house, I could tell something was off right away. She looked different. Not just sad or upset, but kind of shaken. She wasn't her usual guarded, angry self. She sat down on the couch without saying much, and I sat across from her, waiting for her to start. She didn't look at me at first. Instead, she stared at her hands, like she was trying to figure out how to say whatever was on her mind. Finally, she spoke, and when she did, her voice was quiet. "Brian's not who I thought he was. He's been lying to all of us." I tried to stay calm. "What do you mean? What's going on?" She took a deep breath, still not looking at me. "He's been hiding things from my mom and me. Money stuff, job stuff, just everything. I don't even know who he really is anymore." I didn't say anything right away. I just let her keep talking because honestly, I didn't want to make this about me. As much as I had been hurt by her choosing Brian over me, this wasn't the time to rub it in her face. She needed me to listen. Lily kept going, telling how Brian had been lying about his finances for months, pretending like everything was fine when really he was in a lot of debt. Apparently, he had been using money that wasn't his and keeping it a secret from both her and Maria. Now everything was starting to fall apart, and they didn't know what to do. "I trusted him," she said, finally looking up at me with tears in her eyes. "I thought he was better than you, and now everything's just falling apart." That hit me hard, not because of the comparison, but because this was the first time she had admitted to being wrong, and while part of me wanted to feel vindicated, I didn't. I just felt sad for her because as much as I wanted to say "I told you so," I knew that wasn't going to help. She was already dealing with enough. "Lily," I said, keeping my voice as steady as I could, "I'm really sorry you're going through this. But you need to know that no matter what, I'm still here for you. I always have been." She didn't say anything for a minute, but then she nodded, wiping away her tears. It wasn't the dramatic reunion I had imagined, but it was a start. Maybe this was the moment we'd finally begin to heal things between us. Maybe now, with Brian out of the picture, we could actually rebuild our relationship. I didn't know what was going to happen next, but for the first time in a long time, it felt like there was a small chance we could move forward together.